When this season started, I was totally on board with the whole week-to-week thing, but I'm really starting to take that back now. I feel like this season in particular would kind of benefit from a binge. It's good, don't get me wrong, it's just that I kind of find myself losing track emotionally week to week just because everything's getting so crazy. It's getting kind of hard to keep the show in my mind those 7 days between episodes. It's almost like I'm severed for when the fuck. So next season I'll probably wait and binge the whole thing, but it's too late for season 2, we're in it now. So anyway, we have a little bit more hindsight in this video because we're doing 3 episodes. Starting with episode 5, the guy whistling with the cart who's so smooth he makes all the girls uncomfortable is the creepy bitch from episode 7 who really wants to bang Mark's wife.
I love you. Oop. I said, I love you.
I love you too.
Drummond.
We need to clean this up. Milchik's many errors this weekend have forced our hand.
I may be reading into this, but I wonder if he is also an Egan or even Helena's brother based on this line.
And Father approves.
Father encouraged it.
I mean, I know there's multiple ways to interpret that, but could be something. I also have a random hunch that he's gonna die some horrible death, so if that's true, then we can look forward to that. Dylan finding Irving's note behind the poster makes absolutely no sense. I really hope there's something more to this, but what the melon head told him where it was, I don't know. Here's a little interesting moment where we are seeing a little bit of Mark's gradual reintegration. He says this to the team.
He's not dead, he's just not here.
And then later says this to Ragabi.
She's not dead, she's just not here.
And finally, this line at the end has me so curious.
Your Audi is going to be...
I feel like the vision of Gemma could either be a warning about Lumon's plans, or maybe she's trying to say that Mark is going to do something important in terms of taking down Lumon. Anyway, on to episode 6, and I'm just gonna call it right here. Would you like to share vessels is gonna be the hottest pickup line of 2026.
Tell me we shared vessels.
What's that?
We're getting this really interesting love cube between Mark and Helly and Mark and Helly. It's all so high school. I mean, Helena hooked up with Mark, so then Helly hooked up with Mark, and now Helena's trying to hook up with Mark. It's hard to know, especially when it comes to Helena, how much of this is based on spite and how much of it is based on genuine interest in Mark. But either way, it's really interesting to watch this romantic battle play out between the two sides of this person, both of whom are in power half the time and powerless the other half the time. Meanwhile, Mark's Audi is completely oblivious that any of this is even happening. One thing about this scene, I'm not sure why Helena said Gemma's name wrong.
Hannah.
Gemma.
She's too smart to do that on accident, so I'm not quite sure what she accomplishes by that. Seems like she's trying to get on his good side, but that would just irritate him, or at the very least, turn him further against Lumon. Anyway, enough of these fools. I'm starting to think that maybe Ragabi was severed and then she reintegrated, and maybe the person who reintegrated her then taught her how to do it.
Are we gonna...
One more day. Usually that's best.
Usually, you've done this once.
I don't want to rush things.
It has always seemed odd just how much she seemed to know about the process, having only done it once. But then also...
Starving.
That's also from reintegration.
Okay, you know what?
Apparently the reintegration makes you hungry, which leads to Mark pigging out on Chinese food, but look at what else is happening.
You good on snacks?
For now.
There's kind of this running plot line about her and her snacks. She's eating like frosting out of a can? Now, okay, another big psychotic out of nowhere twist, but I'm starting to wonder if somewhere down the line it's gonna be revealed that in some way, Helly is actually Mark's wife.
What is it?
Nothing.
And I know what you're gonna say, the crazy man in the internet box is broken again. But the more I looked into it, the more it actually starts to make sense. It was this moment here that made me start to think about this. Right after Ragabi shoots goo into his chip, he has this crossover moment, just like ones he's had before. But in this one, we see Gemma and Helly's faces being swapped like they're interchangeable.
What the fuck?
Mark has experienced these crossovers before, but something about this moment seems more significant to him. And this isn't the first time we've seen this, we see it in the title sequence as well. Obviously, that could just be symbolism. It could just be him getting confused between the two women in his life that represent the two sides of himself. Or it could be more. We'll just have to hold our fucking horses and find out. And just on a story level, it would also be a sweet piece of irony that the very first line in the entire show is Mark asking Helly,
Who are you?
also paralleled, by the way, with this moment.
I'm sorry, who are you?
And it would mean that this moment was actually foreshadowing and not just banter.
You think we're about to meet our spouses?
Maybe.
Maybe it's each other. That'd be a hoot.
Maybe they used the severing technology to make everyone who knew her believe that she was this other person, including herself. Finally, episode 7, and goddamn, Mark looks sharp as shit in these flashbacks. I feel so bad that they're making Adam Scott look like this most of the time when he could be looking like this. Anyway, a lot of shit going on with these rooms that Gemma's visiting. For me, it's so hard to nail down what my theories on this might be because I feel like it could be so many things. The simplest answer for me, again, is just that they are refining Severance. They subject her to these incredibly intense experiences like 2 hours at the dentist or 753 thank you notes.
I'll write you a thank you note.
Hate writing thank you notes.
And then test to see if she truly did forget it all.
You remember nothing?
Nothing.
Also, Jesus Christ, this is evil, what the fuck? I mean, just imagine, literally your entire life is going to the dentist all goddamn day. And that's bad enough, but then there's another one where she's literally dying in a plane crash for her entire fucking existence. I really hope this prick gets more than a chair to the head. And Nurse Ratched over here needs to eat a fucking eye gouge sandwich. But it's so weird, like right below MDR, there's like the inverted MDR. And yeah, it actually looks more like they're implying that it's all a simulation, but I just don't know if I can mentally handle that right now. You've got 4 people whose screens are facing outward instead of in, and who are presumably watching what each of the refiners are doing, and also look like them, by the way. But yeah, at this point, it's just so hard to know quite how it's all fitting together. The further we go, the more I feel convinced that the experiments at Lumon have to do with creating a product in which people can forget traumatic memories, in Mark's case, whole people that represent those memories, or fabricating new memories, which would make sense with the Gemma Helly twist I was talking about, if they were able to convince a person that they were actually someone else. But I think a major takeaway from this episode is that Gemma is not only severed, but has a handful of personalities. So perhaps what Gemma and Mark are actually doing is helping Lumon to create the next generation of the chip, and maybe Cold Harbor is the final piece in that puzzle. And if this new chip is capable of turning one person into any number of different people, then it makes sense why Drummond says this.
Mark Scout's completion of Cold Harbor will be remembered as one of the greatest moments in the history of this planet.
I have a separate theory as well, based not on Lumon as a corporation, but Lumon as a culty, weird bunch of freaks. In episode 4, they read that story about how Kier's supposed brother Dieter had abused himself and then become one with nature. The Egans are preoccupied with the various facets of human nature, the 4 tempers and the 9 values, and based off the Dieter story, they definitely seem to have some sexual hangups as well. Coming from the cult perspective, I think what Lumon would most want to get out of this research is severing our base instincts from our higher consciousness.
It's the same guy fighting himself, defeating his own psyche. Ego death.
I think they think that by doing this, they're going to promote mankind to a higher evolved state. Under this theory, I think it's very possible that each of the rooms Gemma visits represents an emotion that Lumon is trying to eliminate. You've got pain, frustration, fear, and if this is true, I think that it's going to tie in to the workplace metaphor that the show is rooted in the sense that the soulless corporation wants to remove the humanity from its workers. But in Lumon's case, I think that means everyone.
Lumon.
Yeah.
Like half this town.
Anyway, we'll find out in about 8 hours if I'm wrong about all this shit. Oh, and BT dubs, I'm pretty sure Lumon orchestrated Mark and Gemma's entire relationship and their miscarriage and her death, all so that they could do what they're doing right now. Toodles.